Hi, my name is Rachel, and today we're going to talk about how the Louisiana Muscatine School District in Iowa failed its 10th grade students by putting board members' discomfort over what is best for their students, declining to add one of my all-time favorite books, All My Rage by Saba Tahir, into the English 2 program because they felt it was not age appropriate despite being written for and about young adults. All My Rage is an award-winning book by one of my favorite authors, Saba Tahir. Saba was the one who I originally learned about this from, so I'm going to first let her tell you about this in her own words, and then I'll get into naming and shaming this school board because I'm a lot meaner than Saba is, and then I'll tell you why this book absolutely is age appropriate. It is a valuable book, and I think that it should be in the hands of as many students as we can give it to.
What is so controversial about two kids in love trying to survive life in a small desert town? My name is Saba Tahir, and I wrote this book, All My Rage, and a few nights ago I learned that a school board in a rural Iowa district decided not to obtain the book for its 15 to 16-year-old students because they deemed it controversial and age inappropriate and also thought it wouldn't appeal to teens. What is controversial about a book that builds empathy and visibility for poverty and abuse? What is controversial about a book that elevates honesty, faith, family, friendships? That's a lot of F's. What would it take to get you to see the book as age appropriate? Awards? I have those. All My Rage has won the Walden Award, a Walter Honor, the Boston Globe Horn Book Award, and the National Book Award. Is it librarian approval you need? All My Rage won the Prince Award, which is the highest honor that a young adult book can get from librarians. Should the book have better teen appeal? I don't know, man. It's a New York Times bestseller, it's been translated into 12 languages, and I've heard from hundreds of young people about how much the book means to them. I blacked out the names because I don't want to inundate these officials with people who are angry. What I do want to do is highlight the challenges that American students face in getting books that show experiences different from their own and reflect experiences that they've had. To the board of this Iowa County School District, All My Rage is a good book. It is a worthy book, and it is one I really think your students would enjoy. I hope you reconsider.
So this happened February 20th, 2024, this year at a regular school board meeting. The board of directors for the Muscatine School District in their session. And I just want to point out one thing. I think it's so great, at least, bare minimum, they start their school board meetings at 6 p.m. Unlike my school board, who starts them at 4 p.m. But if you want to be a parent and speak at these meetings, you have to get there by 3:45. And you're lucky if the woman who's supposed to sign you in is still doing her job at 3:45. I'm sorry. There have been times when I've shown up and you're not there doing your job, which means I can't sign up to speak, and then they send me home. So I just think that it would be really great if our school board could prioritize working class parents who cannot leave work to come to school board meetings at 3:40. In fact, my kids get out at 3:15. How do you propose that I get there in 30 minutes? Get my kids out of the car, get them up to the building, and sign in by 3:45. How would I do that? How would I do that? That's literally impossible. Instead, my husband has to take hours off work in order for that to happen. So just saying, trying to be a parent and talking to your school board is a fucking nightmare. So at least they're, making their school board meetings at 6 p.m. unlike us here in Hillsborough County, Florida, making them at, 3:45 if you want to speak. 3:45 at the latest. That's the last minute that you can sign in by. You have to get there even earlier if there's a line. So I'm so sorry. That was such a tangent. Okay. February 20th meeting of the Louisa Muscatine School District. And part of the agenda was the purchase of a book for English class. It says, Whitaker moved and Hoban, these are two people on school board, seconded a motion to approve and purchase the book All My Rage by Saba Tahir as an all-class read for English 2, which is 10th grade. Students at the cost of $1,383.20 for a class set of 80 copies of this title from Permabound. Dr. Stacy Peterson and Bally Raymer were present to answer questions. McCleary and Riggin felt the language and content was not age appropriate. I believe that was supposed to read were not age appropriate, but okay. President Wilson said it covered a lot of controversial content. He felt the story was good, but felt it was too salty of content to recommend. Superintendent Van Sickle said it came down to whether the material was age appropriate or not. Dr. Stacy Peterson stated that any parent can opt out of any book and take an alternate. Motion failed, so the kids don't get the books. I would just super appreciate it if President Wilson would elaborate on what the utter fuck he meant by too salty. Sir, this is a young adult book. Let me give you the synopsis and you can tell me if you think it's too salty. Pakistan, then. Misbah is a dreamer and a storyteller, newly married to Tufik in an arranged marriage. After their young life is shaken by tragedy, they come to the United States and open the Clouds Rest Inn Motel, hoping for a new start. Juniper, California, now. Salahuddin Salahuddin and Noor are more than best friends, they are family. Growing up as outcasts in the small desert town of Juniper, California, they understand each other the way no one else does, until the fight, which destroys their bond with the swift fury of an exploding star. Now, Sal scrambles to run the family motel as his mother Misbah's health fails and his grieving father loses himself to alcoholism. Noor, meanwhile, walks a harrowing tightrope, working at her wrathful uncle's liquor store while hiding the fact that she's applying to college so she can escape him and Juniper forever. When Sal's attempts to save the motel spiral out of control, he and Noor must ask themselves what friendship is worth and what it takes to defeat the monsters in their pasts and the ones in their midst. From one of today's most cherished and best-selling young adult authors comes a breathtaking novel of young love, old regrets, and forgiveness, one that's both tragic and poignant in its tender ferocity. This is a hard-hitting book. It is an important book. It is emotionally painful, but it is also incredibly hopeful. My husband and I have both read this, both given it 5 stars, and yes, we would give it to our 10th grade. If our kids were in 10th grade, we would give it to them. In fact, I would give it to them younger. When Saba says it's a worthy book, I think you should believe her. It's worthy because the intended audience was thought of every step of the way, unlike in that board meeting. And it was written in that for them to either see themselves or their peers in. So my question to this school board is, if not this book, then which? Which book is less salty that will enable students to have a mirror or window that can be used to discuss what it feels like to be an immigrant who is Muslim, learn about what it feels like to experience Islamophobia and at a young age, what it feels like to have a falling out with a close friend, and what coming back together looks like, what it looks like to navigate the death of a parent, the death of a stand-in parent, what it looks like to need a stand-in parent, and what it looks like to deal with a parent who is struggling with alcoholism. One of the loneliest experiences of my life was being a 16-year-old in high school with an alcoholic father, feeling like so much of my day was avoiding conflict and taking care of the things that my dad was not going to take care of, including myself. If I had had this book in high school, if I had had a teacher who had led discussion on it, how might I have been better equipped to deal with these things? But this is just another thing that we don't talk about because it's too salty. And the children are the ones who get left behind in this because we, the adults, center our discomfort. I'm going to give some spoilers for this book until this timestamp right here. If you want to skip and not hear any spoilers about the book, skip to this time. In this book, Salahuddin is one of our main characters, and in the past, you see then and now, his mom, Misbah, is one of your main characters. In the present, Salahuddin's mother dies. And not only was she a mom to Salahuddin, she was also a mother to Noor. You can tell that Noor is experiencing something, but you don't know what it is. And the only one who really knew, who really understood that Noor was in danger was Salahuddin's mother, Misbah, who was her stand-in mother, the only real parent that she ever had the opportunity to have. Noor's uncle, who she lives with, is abusive, including sexually abusive to her. This is led up to in a very intentional way where you don't see Noor admit it because she has not come to terms with what is happening to her. And you sort of see her admitting it and the audience having it admitted to them, and then you're working through that together. How might so many of my peers' lives been changed if they had had this book to help them contextualize their childhood sexual assault and the importance of finding a safe adult to confide in? But that's too salty. These topics are hard, but when you tell kids that the things that they are experiencing are too hard to even talk about out loud, too dirty, too uncomfortable, you enable their abusers further and doom them to never getting help. Now, I was not sexually assaulted by a family member, but I can tell you that what my dad silently counted on in me growing up with an alcoholic parent was that I never tell anybody what was happening at home. It was never explicitly said that I couldn't say anything, but I knew that that was the deal. And if I had had a resource, if I had felt like I had a safe place to confide in about somebody, that could have changed my life. I fully agree with Dr. Stacy Peterson at this board meeting. If parents are really so concerned about reading this, then opt out. No big deal. You can opt for a different book. But for those of us who are raising kids now, those of us who experienced what life was like after September 11th, 2001, we should know by now that what we are taught in school settings mattered, and a lot of what we were taught was rampant Islamophobia. I think it is our duty now to say that this happened and work to not teach this to the next generation. In fact, we should teach kids what Islamophobia looks like in all of its shades so that we can combat it in all the ways that it presents. And this book aids us in understanding it and therefore aids us in learning how to combat it. If you're unfamiliar, after the events of September 11, 2001, the United States had an alarming surge in Islamophobia. People who were Muslim or were perceived to be Muslim experience discrimination, prejudice, xenophobia. In my private Christian schools, we were explicitly taught that the attacks happen because Muslims hate the United States because we are a free Christian nation. In fact, my very school textbooks contain misinformation and ahistorical information about the founding of Islam, which I can show you here on screen. You can pause to read it if you'd like. So Christian nationalists in the United States after 9/11 saw an opportunity to further teach their children, myself included, violent Islamophobia. You may be familiar with Donald Trump saying the untrue statement that he saw Muslims celebrating 9/11 in New Jersey after the attacks. This is what we were taught. It was only after I became an adult that I realized what was happening to Muslims in the United States was a result of this rhetoric and misinformation being taught to us very explicitly. Reflecting on this very dark part of our history in the United States, it becomes increasingly obvious to me that educating high school students about the impacts of Islamophobia is not only desperately imperative and timely, it's crucial. It's also our responsibility as the adults in this situation. By understanding the consequences of this kind of discrimination, we can prevent it happening again, it recurring. I mean, the same reason that we teach about the Salem witch trials using, what is that book? Oh my God. Is so that we learn this dark part of our history so that we don't repeat it again. I thought that was what we had all agreed was necessary. So how is it any different in something like the Salem witch trials, which were fueled by fear, ignorance, and misinformation that then had far-reaching consequences? It seems obvious to me that if we look historically at Islamophobia, also fueled by fear, ignorance, and misinformation, also has had far-reaching consequences. It makes sense to utilize our current literature to help students understand that so that we don't repeat more recent mistakes that we've made. High school students can and must grasp the complexities of Islamophobia and see it as a systemic issue rather than little isolated instances of discrimination. Because post 9/11, Muslims in America faced heightened security, profiling, and violence, all in the name of national security. Innocent individuals, not just Muslims, but people who were perceived to be Muslims like Sikhs, became targets of suspicion based on their appearance and or their religious affiliation. Education plays a vital role in fostering empathy, understanding, and tolerance among all communities. Public education is for everybody. And if we teach high school students about the repercussions of Islamophobia the same way we teach about the repercussions of anti-Semitism via teaching about the Holocaust, we equip them with the knowledge to challenge Islamophobia, whether it presents in stereotypes or personal bias or the law. I thought that we could all agree that teaching kids to stand in solidarity with marginalized groups was a good thing. I thought that we all understood that the lessons of history, the mistakes that we made and the lessons we learned from them are invaluable in shaping the future. Instead, we decide whether or not we're going to repeat these things upon certain groups based on whether or not we currently like them. That's terrible. That doesn't make any sense. Again, the lessons of history are valuable in shaping the future, as are books written by authors who have experienced these things, like All My Rage is. They write their experiences in a way that the youth of today can understand them. So by educating the youth about Islamophobia, we empower them to recognize the warning signs of discrimination and injustice. We empower them to better understand their peers who they have to sit next to for years and years of schooling and be empathetic towards those. And when we use high school English class to foster critical thinking and informed conversations the same way we do with the Crucible, high school students can do better than the generations before them, working towards a society where all individuals are treated with dignity and consideration regardless of who they are, which is not something that was done in my educational experience at all. I mean, you see my curriculum. All My Rage is a worthy book. It is a necessary book. It is a resource. It is a well-written, impactful work of literature that students should have access to. And yes, I do believe it is appropriate for a 10th grade English class environment to be a place that we can have jump-off discussions of. It will enrich their educational experiences in ways that they will take with them throughout their lives. However, I still hold to the fact that if a parent is somehow still uncomfortable because the parent is the one that's salty, not the content, then the parent can opt out. You have the right to opt out. Use it. But your discomfort should not be dictating the policy of all the students in the class. That is inappropriate. So shame on the school board for not doing right by their students and centering their discomfort. If you're a parent, I encourage you to read this book and decide if it's a good fit for your kid and use it to foster incredibly important discussions. I hope that the school board doesn't sleep well at night. That's all I'm going to say about that. Because in my opinion, they failed their students. I'd like to see what is on the curriculum. If this book is too salty and not worthy, then what is? Thanks so much for watching. Let me know if you have read All My Rage and if you would give it to your 10th grade students. Leave your comments and questions down below. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time. Bye. Hi, before I go, I have to say thank you specifically to Andy, who sent me a lot of book mail. I'm really shocked at how much this is, and I cried a little bit. And I want to show you what I got because I'm so excited about all of this. So the first one is Sabriel by Garth Nix, which I have been told I'm going to be obsessed with. This is about a girl named Sabriel, and she sort of lives like secluded away from everybody, but then her father, who is a necromancer known as the Abhorsen, he disappears and she has to cross the world to find him. It's got necromancy. I'm so excited. I know this is gonna be like one of my favorites once I read it. I'm really excited about this. I didn't see what was underneath. Okay, so this is White Too Long by Robert P. Jones, which you know, you all know I grew up Fundy, so I'm really interested in reading about Fundyland now that I've left, and we don't call it Christian nationalism in Fundyland, but like after realizing that that's what it is, I'm really interested in like learning more about it from the lens of not a Fundy anymore. So Robert P. Jones is the CEO of the Public Religion Research Institute, and this is a book talking about his findings researching the legacy of white supremacy, and it's intermingling with evangelical Christianity in the United States in particular. So it's about Christian nationalism and how that presents and how it's completely like not able to be divorced from white supremacy. I'm so excited. Yay! Okay, so I saw what was on top of this box. A Memory Called Empire by Arkady Martine. Oh, I'm so excited about this. I have heard nothing but good things. This is a sci-fi, and it's about, what is her name? Mahit. So Mahit is an ambassador, and she travels to the capital of the empire to take up her new position, and when she gets there she realizes that her predecessor is dead, and so she has to figure out who murdered him, and she realizes that she might be next. I'm so excited. And this cover it's kind of shiny, so it's hard to see, and there's a lot of like very fine detail. What an incredible piece of work. This was a Hugo Award winner in 2020. If you follow the Hugo Awards, I'm very excited about this. What's underneath it? Oh, okay. Native American history for kids. Explore timeless tales, myths, legends, bedtime stories, and much more from the Native Indigenous Americans. Who wrote this? It doesn't say an author name. It just says History Brought Alive. Is this like a collective? It doesn't have an author name. It just says History Brought Alive. I'm so happy about this. Thank you. Thank you for thinking of my kids. Like, I appreciate whenever somebody sends me a book, and it's particularly one that I want to share with my kids. I have bought and read to my kids also along this like same line. My kids are, they have Taino heritage, so I got History Smashers, Christopher Columbus and the Taino people, which is like illustrated a little bit, and it's one that my youngest, who is gonna be 8 this year, has been able to read a little bit from. And then I also bought True History Indigenous America by Liam McDonald, and this also, it doesn't have illustrations, but it has like actual, well, it has some illustrations, but they're like from, you know, back in the day, and it has like pictures. So this is such a resource. I'm so excited. Thank you so much. It's really important to me to like teach my kids the history that particularly I was not taught. And like, I know that a lot of people are like, well, I didn't learn that stuff either. Yeah, but you learned it without the religious aspect, and the religious aspect is a big deal. So, okay, what was the next one? Oh, I did see this. Remote Control by Nnedi Okorafor. I'm so excited. This is a short book. This is a novella, and it's about a girl named, what is her name? Fatima. So Fatima is like the adopted daughter of the Angel of Death. She is searching for an object that came from the sky. It's just her and her fox companion. So this is kind of everything that I want in a book, because it's person adopted by death, like the embodiment of death as a person, and they adopted somebody, which is like a very specific thing that I love. But also very specific thing that I love is animal companion, specifically fox. So yay. So excited. And then what was underneath? Oh man, okay. The Flag and the Cross. Who wrote this? Philip Gorski and Samuel L. Perry. White Christian Nationalism and the Threat to American Democracy. So this one was specifically written after the January 6th insurrection, and they wanted to, and it's short. It's a short one. They wanted to, so they talk about how people were shocked by the violence on January 6th, and how in the crowd you could see people waving flags that said, Trump and American flags, but then they were also waving the Christian nationalist flag, the white, blue, red one, and then the flags that says like Jesus saves, Trump is my president, Jesus is my savior. But then they're also carrying Confederate flags, and then they stormed the Capitol, and then they held prayer in the Senate room. So they talk about how white Christian nationalism started, what it presents as, and where it's going in our current climate. So I am really excited. I'm so excited about all of these. I mean, that is why they were on my wish list. So I guess I shouldn't be like, oh my gosh, amazing. I put them there, but it's just so nice. It's so nice of Andy. Thank you so much. I'm so happy. Again, it's really nice of y'all to like think of my kids and like order books that particularly I'm mostly going to be sharing with my kids, and then just because I don't put my kids on camera, and then just sharing after the fact like what I learned and like what conversation I had with my kids about it. So that's really kind of you. I really appreciate y'all. Oh no, I don't want to cry. Okay, thank you, Andy, so much. That was so kind. I'm so appreciative. Thank you so much. Hello, it's Trash Can Rachel. And before I go out to say thank you for being a friend to my Therapy Bills patrons, and those are Alexander, Brittany Bobitney, Cami, Choco's Waiting for Not All Men podcast, Chris, Dalton, DJ Rocktopus, Ellie, Emperor's New Blues, Aaron with 2 E's, Eric, Ethel Go Lightly, GalaxyBot, Janaya, JC Murphy, Jack, Jess, Jesse, Jill, John E, Julie D, Kaleno K, Casey McKenzie, Kate W, Caitlin M, Quinn, Lady Kittybug, Lemon Jelly, Lex, Lily B, Max B, no relation, just same initial. I don't know why I felt the need to say that. Mixer Boneless, Alice, Panoramic Demon, Peggy Lou, Rachel C, Rain, Reese, SJ, Samar, Scarlet, Shiny, SMK, Spoopy, Steph B, 2 Orbit, Chai Guy, and the Salem T. Lynn. Thank you all so much for being a friend and for being here. I appreciate you. And last but not least, before I go, I have to say thank you for being a friend to my Potato Starch Marxist patrons, and those are Alicia, Amanda, Andy, Angelica, Anita, Artie the Ninth, Ashley H, Ava, Ballads and Bookends, Beck, Blake Lemon Pant, Blythe Lavender, Bookish Bats, Bookish Brainrot, Bree, Caitlin, Cardinal Ginger, Carlin, Casper, Kate W, Catherine, Kathy, Chris, CJ, Clementine, Cole, Colleen, Corwin, Cosmic, Danielle M, Darren, Deborah B, Diet Goth, Dilf Enthusiast, Dorian, Dorothea, E.T. Cosgrove, Ebby, Emerald Dodge, Emily A, Emily L, Emma, Aaron, Ezra Moon, Fiona M, Gadarn, I'm gonna need you to tell me how to say that, Hannah C, Harpy Kiro, Haley G, Ilianaka, India Inks, JM Tennant, Jay is on Olympus, Jelly V, Jen Michelle, Gender Queer, Jenny G, Jessa Sue, Jillian, Jojo Bookish, Kai, Kat, Catherine, Katie L, Kaylee C, Kayala, Kendra, Kiara, Laughing Cat Dog, Laura, Lauren, Lazarus Ray, Library of Scars, Lindsay M, Lisa B, Lisa L, LP, Lou Siri, Lustful Octopus, Martin, Madison, Man-Eating Plant, Marcella, Marquita, Malara, Mentally Unwell, May, Molly, James, Natalie, Never, Nicole G, Nicole R, Nyan Binary, Paige P, Penny Chilling, Foxglove, Rachel B, Reba, Rebecca, Rivi D, Ronnie, Rosie, Rowan, Secoria, Sadie, Saya Riley, Sakia Lume, Samantha O, Sarah H, Sarah the Bear, Sarah Z, Shamed, Shannon, Sheen Onion, Sean, T. Delegati, Tay, Talia, Real Dogs, Tiana, Toast, Trash Can Teddy, Ty, Title Phoenix, and Writer A. Thank you all so much for being a friend.